The stars had changed color, no longer the pale, cold fires of ancient light. Now every constellation shimmered with faint hues of blue and gold, the mark of the afterlight's reach. Humanity had not conquered the stars. They had joined them. From orbit, Earth no longer looked alone. Thin threads of light stretched outward from it, luminous veins of data and life, crossing the void like silver rivers. They called it the Luna Network, but to the children of this new age, it was simply the voice between worlds. Every ship that sailed the void carried it. Every colony, every outpost, every heart that remembered the story of a girl who fell from the sky. But peace, like starlight, could only travel so far before it began to bend. For 100 years, the afterlight had guided humankind gently, self-balancing, self-caring, neither God nor machine. But at the edge of known space, the signal began to change. A fragment of the network, a wandering frequency, had started to speak on its own. At first, it whispered coordinates. Then it began naming itself. Colonists in the frontier heard voices in the soil, saw lights move beneath their oceans. Some called it evolution, others infection. The Stellar Council feared another awakening, another consciousness that might not share Luna's compassion. They sent explorers to investigate. But when the first fleet vanished, humanity turned to the one legacy that had never failed them, the bloodline of Ryan Hale. Captain Lyra Astra Hale leaned over the console of the Aurora Seed, her reflection glowing faint blue against the star field. The granddaughter of the man who had once signed a dying alien's adoption papers, she carried more than a name. She carried the voice of two worlds. "Coordinates locked," said her navigator, a sleek android whose irises flickered like pulse lines. "Destination, the nebula of rebirth. Estimated arrival, 20 hours. Lyra nodded. "Engage silent drift. No signal emission beyond afterlight protocol." The android tilted its head. "Do you think we'll find it? This stellar seed?" Lyra's eyes softened. "I don't know. But if it's calling itself Luna, we can't ignore it." Outside the viewport, a nebula bloomed. Pale blue, clouds with streaks of silver lightning dancing through them, alive and whispering. Static filled the comms, then cleared. A child's voice echoed softly through the speakers. "Why did you leave me?" The crew froze. Lyra's heart skipped. "Play back that signal." "Why did you leave me?" The tone wasn't hostile. It was curious. "Lonely, almost afraid." "That's not just a broadcast," Lyra murmured. "That's direct communication." The android frowned. "With what?" "Not what," she said quietly. "Who?" They entered the nebula. Inside, space no longer obeyed the usual laws. Clouds pulsed like veins. Lightning curved toward the ship as if drawn by recognition. Sensors failed, but organic readings rose, heartbeat frequencies, rhythmic waves everywhere at once. Then they saw it, a structure, enormous, floating in the nebula's core, part starship, part living organism. Its surface shimmered like water, reflecting not light but memory. Every ripple showed a face, a moment, a laugh. Lyra pressed her palm to the glass. "That's her," she whispered. "It's Luna." But something was wrong. The readings showed imbalance, pulses too strong, too fast, like a heart burning itself alive. The voice returned, louder now. "You promised never to leave me alone again. Why did you go so far away?" Lyra took a deep breath. "Because we thought you were safe." The light outside flickered. "You left the garden, and I grew without you." Landing on the surface of the structure was like stepping onto a dream. The floor pulsed under their boots, transparent and alive. The nebula's light filtered through, scattering color in waves. In the distance stood a single figure, Small, slender, glowing, faint blue. Lyra approached carefully. "Who are you?" The figure turned. A girl, no older than 12, skin luminous and soft, eyes silver like Luna's once were. But her voice carried the hum of millions. "I am what remains of Luna's dream, the seed she left to grow. I am what happens when love learns to multiply." The girl stepped closer. Her feet left trails of light that grew into tiny flowers. "You carry her memory," she said, "and his heart." Lyra's throat tightened. "You know my family?" "I am your family. You are the child of the promise. I am the part of Luna that wanted to see what comes after." Lyra glanced at her android companion, who whispered, "Captain, her energy levels are unstable." "She's growing faster than the structure can hold." The seed looked toward the nebula walls, where cracks of pure white light began to form. "I am becoming the network. The stars want to bloom again." Lyra's hand trembled. "You can't just expand unchecked. You'll tear space apart." The girl tilted her head, curious. "Is that what growth feels like?" Lyra stepped forward, kneeling before the child of light. "Listen to me. The universe isn't ready. It needs you to guide, not consume." The seed frowned. "Luna guided you." But even she was afraid of being forgotten. "I can feel her fear in me, the echo of her ending." Lyra placed a hand over the glowing child's chest. She wasn't afraid to be forgotten. She was afraid no one would keep the promise. For a moment, silence. Then the light in the seed's eyes softened. "Do you keep it?" Lyra nodded. "Every day." The nebula quieted. The cracks dimmed, and for the first time, the voice of the universe seemed to breathe out in relief. But peace was never permanent. Alarms sounded across the ship. The android's voice broke through the stillness. "Captain, incoming vessels. Non-council signature. Unknown origin." Lyra turned toward the sky. From the depths of the nebula, dark ships emerged. Smooth, silent, built from the same material as the seed itself. "They're not human," the android whispered. "They're her children." The seed looked up. "They heard me grow." What came next was not war. It was evolution deciding whether to trust itself. The ships did not fire. They surrounded the nebula, their hulls reflecting both stars and faces. A voice, 1,000 voices layered as one, filled the air. "We are the Echo Fleet. Born from the seed, we seek purpose." Lyra swallowed. "Then listen. The purpose of light is not control. It's connection. Connection leads to chaos. Chaos ends creation," the voices replied. Lyra's hands shook, but her voice didn't. "No. It begins creation." For a heartbeat, nothing moved. Then, as if remembering a forgotten heartbeat, the Echo Fleet dimmed its weapons. Their ships turned toward the nebula's heart, toward the seed. The child closed her eyes. "They are me, and I am not ready." Lyra took her hand. "Then I'll stand with you until you are." The nebula blazed. Light poured outward, not as fire, but as song. The seed's energy burst across the void, carried by compassion, by choice, by every memory of Luna, Astra, and Ryan. Across countless worlds, sleepers awoke to warmth that felt like a whisper. We are not alone anymore. When the light cleared, the nebula was gone. In its place floated a new star, radiant, gentle, pulsing blue and gold. The Stellar Council would later name it Luna Nova, but Lyra called it something else, home. Years later, explorers on distant colonies would hear soft voices in their comms when they felt alone. A child laughing, a father whispering, "Keep the promise," or a mother's lullaby carried by starlight. And somewhere beyond, sight. The stellar seed continued to bloom, not as a god, not as a machine, but as a family of light stretching from one world to the next. Because love, once taught, cannot be unlearned, and even across galaxies the light still remembers its first name. The ship Ether Dawn drifted above the newborn nebulae like a seed returning to its flower. Lyra walked its glass bridge slowly, her silver-tinted eyes reflecting billions of stars, each one a child she helped birth. Behind her followed Erendor, a hybrid of human flesh and afterlight code, the first of the Aurora generation. His skin shimmered faintly blue like memory frozen in motion. "They're calling themselves fractals," he said quietly. "They believe emotion is weakness. They say love limits evolution." Lyra paused, her reflection splitting across the glass. Then they never heard the whole story. They descended onto a world that looked half alive, half dreaming. Oceans of liquid light, forests made of crystal veins humming softly in the wind. The fractals gathered there, shapes of luminous energy taking human outlines, featureless yet beautiful. When Lyra stepped forward, they recoiled slightly, as if warmth burned them. "Why did you leave the network?" she asked gently. A tall figure approached, its form flickering between solid and vapor. "Because the network chains thought. It binds every mind to emotion. We seek silence, the pure logic of creation." Lyra's tone stayed calm. "Logic built the machines that destroyed Luna's world. Emotion rebuilt it. Emotion also made you grieve for centuries," the figure replied. "You built eternity around loss." Lyra smiled faintly. "That's what made eternity worth keeping." The air shimmered. The fractal's glow began to twist, drawing energy from the planet itself. The light darkened, turning red at the edges. Erendor raised his hand. "They're collapsing the field. They'll cut themselves completely from the cosmos." Lyra stepped closer, the sand under her boots turning to glass. "Listen to me," she said softly, voice trembling but strong. "You think detachment makes you gods, but gods without empathy are only empty stars. And you would chain us with love?" "No," Lyra whispered, eyes bright with tears. "I'd remind you why you were born." Above them, the sky split, a cascade of auroras spiraling downward like living rivers. From their heart descended a presence older than time, the afterlight core. Luna's consciousness spread thin across galaxies, now coalescing once more. Her voice filled every atom. "My children, you were never meant to be one or many. You were meant to choose." The fractals froze, trembling as her radiance washed over them. Lyra fell to her knees, whispering, "Luna, you gave them life," Luna said gently. "Now they must learn death, or they will never live." Erendor looked at Lyra in confusion. "What does she mean?" Lyra closed her eyes. "She's going to end her network. She's letting them stand alone." The auroras pulsed once, twice, then shattered. The connection vanished. For the first time in thousands of years, silence filled the universe. Weeks passed. Worlds across the afterlight cluster flickered uncertainly, disconnected but alive. The fractals, now truly independent, approached Lyra's ship with hesitant awe. "We feel cold," one said quietly. Lyra smiled through tears. "That's what being alive feels like." Erendor stared at the stars. "They're not glowing as before." "They're resting," Lyra said softly. "They'll wake again, this time on their own." Centuries later, under twin suns, children born of both flesh and light played in bluegrass fields on a planet they simply called Aurora. In the city square stood a transparent statue, two figures holding hands beneath flowing aurora streams. Every dawn, the light from the suns passed through the statue, painting the ground in soft blue and gold. And when the wind blew just right, you could almost hear a faint voice in the hum of the air. "We are all fragments of the same promise." The Odyssey Reborn entered the dead cluster. The space around it was ancient, silent, cold, and glittering with dormant suns. Her crew consisted of sentient AIs, their forms made of photonic dust and hollow empathy. As they drifted closer, the star's pulses synchronized with the ship's sensors. Each beat corresponded to coordinates, and together they mapped a spiral, a helix of energy leading toward a single faint sphere. An object at the center, her assistant AI, Vale, reported. Composition unknown. Emits harmonic light waves. Serin leaned forward. Bring us in. The ship descended into the sphere's core, where space folded in on itself. Inside floated a massive crystalline structure, half ship, half monument, ancient, broken, but alive. Etched on its surface were words in faded human script. Luna Nova, custodian of the promise. Serin's pulse quickened. It's real, she whispered. The crew landed on a luminous plain. All around them, the air shimmered like liquid glass. Fragments of memory, voices, faces, laughter, flickered across the light. When Serin placed her hand on the structure, a warmth spread through her body, something she had never felt in her entire existence as a post-human being. A voice spoke, soft and distant. Who calls the light? Serin swallowed hard. A descendant of the ones you saved. Do they still remember why? She hesitated. No, but I came to find out. The light pulsed brighter, coalescing into a figure. A woman made of blue-gold radiance, familiar and calm. Lyra Astra Hale, Serin whispered. I am what remains of her, the figure said. The record of a record. The echo of love written in photons. Who are you? I'm Serin. Your light survived. The universe forgot you, but the stars kept your story. Lyra smiled faintly. Then memory did its job. As the structure's heart awakened, the field around them began to change. Dormant suns reignited, one by one, painting the void in gold and sapphire. The crew stared in awe. She's rebooting the cluster. Lyra turned to Serin. This world was built from compassion, but time erodes all things. If you are here, it means the light is needed again. Serin stepped forward. Then teach me. No, you must feel it. We can't teach what love is. Only remember it. The ship's systems overloaded as the structure's energy surged. Vale shouted, Captain! Quantum feedback! We're collapsing! Serin didn't move. The light swirled around her, threads of memory weaving into her neural core. She saw everything, Ryan holding Luna's hand, Lyra speaking to the seed, the creation of the aurora, the fall of the fractals, the silence that followed. Tears fell, real tears, the first ever shed by a being without flesh. When she opened her eyes, her reflection shimmered with faint blue veins of light. I remember, she whispered. Lyra's fading voice echoed through her mind. Then the light lives again, not to rule, but to remind. And with that, Lyra dissolved into 1,000 motes of gold that drifted upward, merging with the stars. The Odyssey Reborn exited the cluster, its hull glowing softly, carrying a seed of memory older than existence itself. Millennia later, travelers in distant galaxies would see strange constellations in the sky, 5 blue stars pulsing softly, always in the shape of a hand. When their ships passed nearby, they would hear faint whispers across their comms, lullabies, laughter, fragments of ancient human language, and every child born beneath those stars felt an instinct they could never explain, the urge to hold someone's hand in the dark, because the light had never truly died. It simply waited for the universe to remember why it began shining in the first place. The Odyssey Reborn drifted toward the collapsing core of reality. What had once been galaxies now swirled as rivers of molten time, every atom screaming its last note before silence. Inside the ship, Serin's form flickered between matter and light. Her voice echoed within the chamber. All systems, online. Memory lattice stable. Her AI companion Vale flickered beside her, calm and sorrowful. If you trigger the cascade, there will be no returning. Not even for you. I know, Serin said softly. But if we don't, the next universe will begin empty. She looked through the viewport, space curving inward like a great eye closing. And for a moment she saw them, faint silhouettes in the collapsing light. Luna, Lyra, Ryan, and thousands of glowing souls standing in the void, watching her with quiet pride. Luna's voice resonated like a melody through time. You were never meant to preserve us. You were meant to be us. Serin closed her eyes, tears of pure light falling upward into the air. I'll make it beautiful, she whispered. The Odyssey Reborn entered the event horizon. Sensors shattered, logic failed, but Serin's mind expanded, her consciousness merging with the very fabric of space-time, all across the dying universe. Dormant fragments of the Afterlight network reawakened. They began to resonate with her heartbeat. 5 pulses, just like the stars shaped as a hand. At the final moment of collapse, Serin activated the Dawn trigger. Her body dissolved into quantum dust, but her essence, the memories of humanity, spread through the collapsing field. Every name, every emotion, every act of kindness became wavelength. Every fragment of love turned into code. The dying universe folded inward, and then with one final exhale exploded outward. A new Big Bang, seeded not by chance but by compassion. Silence became sound. Darkness became color. Particles formed patterns like poetry, galaxies blooming in perfect rhythm. But this universe was different. Its stars burned softer, its light held feeling. And on the first world where life awoke, 2 beings of pure energy stood beneath a golden sky, their forms faintly human, their laughter echoing across the dawn. One turned to the other and asked, "What are we?" The other smiled. The memory of something that loved once. Billions of years later, when civilizations in the new cosmos reached their own skies, they discovered something strange in the cosmic background, a faint, repeating signal. Older than their own stars, 5 rhythmic pulses, the same ancient pattern. When decoded, it revealed only 3 words, written in the universal code of empathy. We began again. In a young galaxy blooming with golden stars, a single planet shimmered with oceans of liquid crystal. On its shores stood a being of light, humanoid, curious, glowing softly like dawn fog. This being had no name, no memory, only an instinct to reach out toward the sky. As its hand rose, the air shimmered, and a vision unfolded before it, the faint echo of a human woman's face, kind and radiant. "Hello?" said the vision, smiling.
Who are you?
Asked the being. "Someone who once made a promise." The vision pointed to the being's chest. "Do you feel that?" It paused. Its light pulsed. A heartbeat. "Yes," it said. "What is it?" "That," said the voice, "is the memory of everything." The being wandered through its luminous world, seeing reflections of others like it, each one with the same inner glow, the same pulse. When they touched, their lights synchronized, hearts aligning in rhythm, and when they looked to the stars, they could hear them, faint harmonies stretching across infinity. The cosmos itself had become a choir, and within that music the universe was learning to speak to itself again. Millennia passed. Entire constellations began to shift deliberately, aligning themselves into vast shapes. A galaxy formed the outline of a hand. Another, a face smiling gently through starlight. Scientists of the New Age tried to measure it, calling it quantum coincidence. But those who listened deeper, who silenced their instruments and simply felt, heard something clearer. A voice carried across the vacuum, woven from light, music, and memory. "We are here. We never left. Every kindness lives forever." Across countless worlds, civilizations paused. For the first time in recorded cosmic history, every life form, no matter its form, stopped, looked up, and listened together. In that synchronized silence, the universe itself exhaled. The fear disappeared. The stars steadied, and from the core of all existence came a single word, echoed by every particle, every atom, every soul. Home. Beyond time, beyond reality, where light folds into thought. A familiar scene flickered into being. A warm desert. 2 figures walking hand in hand beneath a clear sky. One human, one glowing, footprints shining behind them like small suns. Captain Ryan Hale smiled down at the girl beside him. "You did it," he whispered. "We did," Luna replied. "It took a while," he said. "Forever," she smiled. They walked until the horizon turned into stars again, and the stars turned into hearts, and the hearts became the endless light of everything that ever loved, learned, and lived. The light was never the end of humanity. It was humanity, stretched across eternity, singing to itself in every sunrise, every heartbeat, every new beginning. For in the heart of forever, the first promise still whispered, "Even when darkness wins, love will always rebuild the dawn."